welcome to the show, soldiers. They call me the Doc. I'm the host with the ghosts. With me today is my good friend Jason Charnick of
What's up?
many different things here in the Web3 community, as well as an accomplished producer in the film world in his own right. Jason, thank you for joining us on the show today or tonight or wherever it is, since this is recorded.
Whenever you might be listening or watching,
What
just glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So, tell us. So, just to I guess lead into this a little bit. So, as if you're part of the Phantasma community, clearly, if you've read my post or kind of seen any of the things I've been talking about, Phantasma is really working hard to expand past just games, and part of that
Sure.
is really to just promote this chain as a place for entertainment to be built. We have our smart NFTs, which you can leverage to do so many more things than you can with a typical ERC 720 or ERC 1155 NFT. We can stack them, we can nest them, we could give them liquid value. We've got unlockable content, secret stuff, all sorts of great stuff that you can do. That really gives you a lot of flexibility and creativity. So part of our campaign here recently has been to come to the film3 community, which we're very hyped about. I mean, me myself personally, I see this as just the same as game designers and people in this industry. A few years ago were kind of sitting there going, man, we work so hard, and at the end of the day we're not getting squat, and we're kind of sick of the system. We want to strike out and do our own thing, and usher in this whole new realm of creativity. And I think that's a lot of the same kind of ethos is going along with the film 3 community. So Jason, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about how you get started in film,
Sure.
some of the things that you're doing, and how you kind of landed in film 3.
Sure. The easy question to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been. My name is Jason Charnick. I've been in the film industry for over 25 years now. Very long time. I moved out to Los Angeles from New York City in 1999 on a 5-year plan to move back to New York. It never happened because Los Angeles is. I mean, it's the middle of October and it's like 75 degrees and
Right.
awesome out. So I never actually, and I think it's kind of shitty back in New York right now. I don't know what the weather's like, but love it out here and kind of stuck around. I worked for, like I said, I've been in the in the entertainment industry doing post production for about 25 years. 12 of those years was spent at a company called Framework Studio, which is part of Happy Madison Productions.
Mm-hmm.
So I've worked on well over a dozen Happy Madison movies, working on the main titles and the graphics and all that stuff. And my company we have outside clients as well. So I've worked on campaigns for some of the biggest blockbusters for all of the studios, doing post production. Recently wrapped up work on some advertising campaigns that were on the NBA Finals back in
Nice.
May and June during the NBA playoffs. Worked on stuff for the Batman and Top Gun that was out earlier, and Bullet Train, and I mean just all a whole bunch of stuff that we've done campaigns for. So I've been doing that as my day job for 25 years now. What brought me into film 3? Well, back in 2018, I left my job at Happy Madison to finish my first feature, Getting Over, which I'm very, very lucky and honored to say played at the South by Southwest Film Festival in 2018. And that kind of leveled my career up as an independent filmmaker. And I wanted to make a go of it, not just working for studios and stuff, but independent film is my heart and soul. I've worked on my own projects, for in conjunction, on the side of my career track for the day job. I've worked on my own stuff
Yeah.
for years. And it's really hard to get noticed. It's really hard to break through. Like I said, I was very lucky to get to go to South by Southwest, and that kind of leveled my career up as a director. But still found a lot of interference, trying to get a career going, in the independent world. It's very expensive to make a movie, and a lot of filmmaking is raising money and a lot of crowdfunding these days.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's very, very difficult. And so back during the pandemic, I spent a lot of time on TikTok And so like in late 2020, like August of 2020, I started seeing people talking about, I saw TikToks from people talking about like, hey, OpenSea, NFTs,
Right.
crypto, and
Right.
kind of ignored all of that. But back in March of 2021, I'll tell you a story real quick. Back in March of 2021, a friend of mine, Noam Kroll, who's another independent filmmaker, tweeted out about NFTs, and how filmmakers can use NFTs to crowdfund for their work, to raise awareness for their work, to build community for their work. And actually, back at the time, we weren't even really talking about community. It was just really like, how can we make money? How can we raise money to make our movies? And and NFTs were just exploding, at the time in March of 2021. And so my friend Noam Kroll had made a tweet about how, hey, filmmakers, hey, independent filmmakers, how can we use NFTs to get our projects made? And at the time, I was not sour on the idea. I was just kind of learning, getting to know the very, very, very basics. But I saw a lot of drawbacks and disadvantages and just questions that I had.
Yeah.
So I tweeted at him, and I don't know why, but I know Gary V, our friend Gary Vaynerchuk, the entrepreneur and everything that he does, had been tweeting a lot about NFTs and crypto and all of that. So I don't know why, but I responded. I tweeted back at my friend Noam, and for some reason tagged Gary V and was like, well, Gary V's doing this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I don't know if Gary was on the toilet at the time or if he had his phone in his hand, but like within 10 seconds, he responded and was like, hey, Jason, nice to meet you. This is what we're doing. And I was like, okay, cool. And he ended up inviting me to like a half an hour, like private call, and we ended up talking for about a half an hour. And he really sold me on the idea, because I'm a baseball card collector. I'm a sports memorabilia collector. I collect autographs too.
Yeah.
And he really sold me on the idea of these things as collectibles, as NFTs as collectibles. And it really started to unlock it in my mind. And I think it was around the time Phantasma was also starting to do stuff with Kevin Smith. With some of this Jay and Silent Bob stuff. Yeah. And it was really starting to pop off a little bit. And I know why Gary did it. Now I can look back and like, it was about 3 weeks before they dropped their VFriends project. So like, he was just collecting data. He saw a kind of a naysayer, and he was just like, let me just find out why. Right. So, and I appreciate that he spent the time to talk to me.
I'm going to start tagging Gary V in all my
posts. Like I said, if you catch him when he's on the toilet or something with his phone, I don't know where, but like, I just had this, cause like, he's a busy man and he's got millions of followers. And how the hell did he see my tag right then and
just
there?
Some one rando out there.
And I'm as rando as it gets at the time. So, so we chatted, and he really convinced me, on NFTs as collectibles. And it sent me just down the rabbit hole. Yep. And I just tried to find out as much about it as I could, read up as much about it as I could. Like I said, that's when I started to learn about Phantasma and what they were all about. And I discovered Jordan Bain with the NFT Filmmaker Squad, and a million other things that are happening in the NFT world with art and film and moving images and stuff. Yeah. That just was like such a blast of like creative, like. It's
an amazing intersection, isn't it? With all that stuff. I was out at the NFT Miami last year, and while I was out there, I was like, man, I'm trying to. There was a feeling that was really familiar to me, and it was this energy that I couldn't quite. I was like, man, I know this before. I've been here before, and what I realized it was is. Coming up in the late 90s and early 2000s, I was really big in the underground music scene, the rave scene, and things like that. And there was this energy, this dynamic. People were talking about, like, how are we going to change the future? It was these kids that were programming who were probably out there building smart contracts today. And I felt it was that same kind of just like raw creative energy just bursting from the seams out of this conference. And it's an amazing feeling once you kind of key into that, and you're like, oh man, I'm here. Like, I get this now, right?
Yeah. And I've also explained it to, like, at the time, and I was, not so much into the, the underground music scene or whatever, but I went to school in Boston in the late 90s. So like, I know a little bit about like what that kind of scene was all about, even though I was like still kind of like a bookworm at the time. Yeah. And it was also like, as the internet was like starting to explode, but before the time that all that, like Amazon really was just like
Yeah.
that little go-getter,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Bezos wasn't Bezos yet. And
Right.
he really was just like this little go-getter. And everybody
Yeah.
was like, something's happening here. And I actually, after I graduated from college and moved out here in 99, I worked for Apple Computer from 2000 to 2002. I'm one of the original retail employees from the first Apple store in Glendale,
Wow.
California.
Wow.
And I specifically remember, and I've told this story to many people before too, like I was offered 100 stock options in Apple when I started to work for them in 2000, and it was 100 stock options at $13 each. And I had just moved out to LA. I had just gotten my career started. I think I had maybe just started my first job. I didn't, that's why I went to work for Apple, because I needed money to live. So like I didn't have $1,300.
Right.
And yada, yada, yada. Apple is one of the biggest companies in the world right now. And I missed out. I honestly, like, I knew something was happening. This was years before the iPod. People used to come into the not even years, like a year before, like people used to come into the Apple store and be like, I'm hearing rumors of this music device. Can you tell me about it? And
Right.
like, I don't know. They don't tell us shit. Like, I don't know. So like people were like talking and asking us about the iPod long before it came out. I didn't have the money for the stock options, but I knew something special was happening.
Yeah.
And I missed out on that train, missed out to cash in.
Right.
And then when I started getting involved in NFTs, and not so much crypto was like my entryway into NFTs. I'm not like a crypto bro or anything by any means. We've got just, not a lot into it, but like enough to, feel like I have some skin in the game, but I'm not one of those like crypto rich, guys that like bought a Bitcoin, in 2009 and now they driving Bugattis or whatever. So I knew something special was happening here, and I knew it because my timeline on Twitter, within a matter of weeks, went from being a cesspool of sports fans yelling at each other and politics people yelling at each other to just cool art.
Right.
To just cool art. And I'm looking at cool art. I'm like, something's happening here, and I want to be a part of it. So, they say we're early, but I've been doing it. I've been involved in the space for, a year and a half now, almost 2 years now. And I still love it. The riches haven't come, and that's fine, because we're talking. We've made a connection. Jordan that I've met, Jordan Bain through the NFT Filmmaker Squad, a lot of other people through the squad, coming around, and we're building. We talk of this community, like we really are building something special, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. So, and I just didn't want to miss out. I don't know what it's going to be yet. The bull market came and went. The bear market is what it is. I don't even like to think about it as a market, because I'm a filmmaker. I just want to make films. I just want to make cool shit. So I try not to think about it in those terms, especially coming from baseball cards. Like, I'm not like one of those like investor card collector guys.
Right.
Like, I collect cards because I like to collect shit,
Yeah.
So, but I got the sense that something special was happening, and I just wanted to be a part of it. And so far so good. It's been really exciting meeting people from all over the world. Like, it just a breath of fresh air, meeting all these creatives and artists from all over the world. And it just feels different, you said we're a bit of the same age, and we came up in the the late 90s, early 2000s, and like even then, when I was like on like sports card forums or movie forums, or there wasn't, I don't know, there was just still, even though we were the global village, there was a feeling of disconnect. Everyone was where they were, and they were coming together on the internet. But now it, with Twitter Spaces and being able to hear people talk and being able to connect with people on a more personal level, it's unlike anything I've experienced in 25 years, of living online.
I agree. And look, you're talking to like a lifelong lurker, right? I mean, I'd read the forums, I'd join the forums. I wasn't really ever one to really communicate with stuff. Here in the past, several years where as of course more as I've deepened my experience and my exposure here, I start and finish my days in Discord voice chat every day in one of the gaming communities that I'm in. Some of the best people that my best friends are all from Web3 community now, and that's something, and that's special. But that also goes to it goes to reinforce the idea of communities making art together, right?
Hmm.
Of like everybody having their different talents and their different expertise, and putting all that together for an end product. I was listening to one of the Film Squad spaces the other day, and if I'm probably going to have to paraphrase a lot, but I think what was said was like, everyone talks about a content creator or a this or that, and that's not what this is. We're not making content, we're making art. And there's so many cogs and wheels, and it's not cogs and wheels. These are all people, these are like unionized people that are part of this. They're writers, they're editors, this is an art and a craft from
Yeah.
from A to Z, all the way until you release and distribute and all this kind of stuff. And I think that especially with film, and even on a broader, when I even think about Film 3, to me it's even wider than just film, because it is art, it is writing, it's lore, it's all these different processes that come together. Animation, we talked to Wags the other week with
Yeah, he's
Virtue, great
Yep.
dude. And it's all these kind of things coming together just to deliver something of beauty that people pour their energy into. It's not a product. It's the piece of art, right? Yeah, and this whole thing is just about making sure everybody gets a fair cut of that, and that's what the
Exactly.
beautiful thing is.
Exactly. And to build off of that too, and it's not to disparage any content creator who's making stuff on TikTok or YouTube
No,
or
no, no,
whatever.
no, no, not at all.
That's all. It's hard work. That's
Yeah.
hard work. It's not just a side hustle you can
Absolutely.
do. And big ups to anyone who's dedicated their life to doing that. And I wish them all the success. But what it really is for me, especially in Film 3, is the people that I've met filmmaker wise. I've met two kinds of people. Either I've met filmmakers who are involved in the industry in one way or another, who have had doors slammed in their face
Right.
constantly for years. Anyone who's an actor, certainly knows about it, or anyone who's a filmmaker who's applied for film festivals. I was very lucky to get into South by Southwest with my feature, but I still got rejected 50 times from other film festivals after that. And with the same movie, they're like, we understand you were in a wonderful film festival, but we're going to say no anyway.
Right.
So like, we're used to rejection. We're used to having doors slammed in our face. We're used to the gatekeepers, we call them. And it's just a bunch of people that have decided to say, enough of that. Enough of going to the film industry to like get permission to make movies. So people are starting to realize that there's a new way to do this where we don't have to rely on the old methods. And then there are people that I've met who aren't filmmakers at all, but just film fans.
Right.
Just people who love films enough to the point that they want to be involved. They don't know how they want to be involved sometimes. They just know, they don't know where to start. But we've come together in this one place where film fans, film patrons, and filmmakers can all get together with a single goal to create something ourselves without having anyone give us permission.
Right.
Every time I've had multiple projects over the years that I've spent time doing a deck or writing a short or writing a treatment or going out and shooting a sizzle reel, and spending time and money and effort, to put something together, only for funders to like look at it and be like, this is great, thanks, but no.
You're right.
And it's just like, right. And I can't, when I did my feature, I did a Kickstarter and an Indiegogo to raise funds for it. It's also very hard for me personally to ask people for money, especially for something that I haven't made yet.
It's the hardest thing that there is.
It's the hardest thing to do.
And there's parallels between, like, that's why, I definitely understand, you're talking to a guy, I advise a couple projects, and we're out there, same thing, man, trying to do the thing. And, everybody wants to see a little something first, right? Or say, but you can't necessarily do that with film, right? You can't say, okay, we're going to go shoot half the movie, and then we're gonna, like if they want a game, they're like, well, can we get an MVP, right? You're like, well, I can't shoot half the film and bring it to you and be like, hey, check this out. You want to fund the rest of it,
Right.
But that's where NFT communities can come in, and these type of communities. So we can use NFTs to help fund films. We can do NFTs to do memberships in a film collective, to do voting rights with DAOs. There's so many cool, so many great use cases. We actually have a film that was funded, or that's kind of launching via Phantasma, but it's called Beyond the Neon. And so the way that they're going to use this is they're going to use the lock content for the NFTs they sell. What these guys did is they actually went out to Las Vegas and they did this big investigative thing with the sex trade industry, right? And actually almost got themselves in trouble. Wrote a film around it. So the NFTs will have unlockable content. These will have the actual interviews with the people that the film was based on, right? And the proceeds of that are going to go to charity. So that, I mean, like, this is a really simple use of NFTs, but a profound one, because it in the end of the day, it helps people out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not necessarily about the cash grab, about raising money. You can give money with them too. There's so many great things that are available. Speaking of things like mental health and and things like that, I want to go ahead and share my screen here, and let's talk about some of the things that you're involved with.
Sure.
I want to talk about your projects here, and let me just switch this thingy. Boom. I need a like a live producer. I have to do all this on the fly. It's a little
That's
messy,
all right.
but hey, okay, so here we go. So
I'm the same way. I like to. I'm a do-it-yourself kind of guy when possible.
Yeah, when possible, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is about the Head Above Water. It's a filmmaking and mental health podcast. Tell us a little bit about what inspired this. And because mental health, I like you said, you get the door slammed in your face a lot, right? In Hollywood, in making films, and as an artist with all the work, and crypto. I mean, while it's not quite the same thing, but I mean, crypto. There's a lot of mental health involved in this.
I mean, you're riding the
waves.
Well. Yeah,
riding the waves.
Yeah, I can see that.
People, look, I've been wrecked myself. I've wrecked my once not my fault, once definitely my fault, and each time it was a blow. And it's hard. It's a hard thing. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing here.
Sure. Well, I've made no secret about it, and I will answer any and all questions that anyone ever has. But I have struggled with my mental health for a few years now. I've personally been in therapy for many years, but just over the last few years, we've had some losses in our family that have hit pretty hard. So I've really been struggling with depression for a really long time. And when I made my feature, it is, when you're an independent filmmaker, it is, we talked a little bit earlier about, raising funds and things like that. It is it's extremely difficult to go out and raise money, because it's hard to ask people for money, especially if you're doing a Kickstarter and you have a limited amount of time. This is why I like NFTs, because there's no deadline. But these crowdfunding platforms give you like a month or 2 months to try to raise as much as you can. And with Kickstarter, if you don't hit your goal, you don't get your money.
Right.
And Indiegogo has like a flexible thing, so you can kind of get whatever you get.
Yeah.
But you have to choose that beforehand. So it's really it's a lot weighing on a filmmaker just to raise the money. The process of making a film is very, very intense, very emotional, very taxing on one's psyche to see a film from development to distribution. These things are things that weigh on filmmakers all the time, and I just didn't find a lot of people talking about it. We talk about the successes, when a small independent movie blows up and gets really big, how awesome it is, or anything like that. But we don't talk a lot about rejection from 40 film festivals, how that weighs on you. And every time you get a rejection from a film festival, they always say, this is not a reflection on you or your work.
Oh yeah, of course.
We just have 3 million submissions to go through.
Yeah.
I mean, to get into Sundance every year, or to get into South by, if you have a feature, it's harder than getting into Harvard, statistically speaking.
Right.
And very often it's, people who have spent years, not just like the couple of weeks to shoot the movie or the month to shoot the movie, and then a few months after that to edit the movie and finish it. These very often are, multi-year long processes. My feature took 7 years from start to finish.
Sure.
I had a day job and a lot of other things, and it's a documentary with a lot of footage. So
it's like, can I hammer out one chapter before I gotta put the kids to bed tonight, kind of thing.
Exactly.
On the script.
And you just try to find time to work on it when you can, and when it gets done, it gets done. And it weighs a lot on people and indie filmmakers. And I work a lot with low budget filmmakers and micro budget filmmakers, and nobody was talking about how it weighs on your mental health and your mental stability to just see a project through to fruition from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a bright idea, a couple of years ago. Everyone's starting a podcast.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I'm going to start a podcast too. So I reached out to some friends of mine who are filmmakers, and other people since then. And I haven't had a new episode in quite some time because it's a lot of, even doing a smaller podcast that's self-produced, it's still a lot of work. It takes a long time. Although I'm an editor and a post supervisor by trade, I hate audio editing. I love video editing all day long, do it all day long.
Yeah.
Audio editing in like Adobe Audition or something, not fun for me. And then I tried to bring on another person to just edit it. And then it was like, but I need to be like, it was not that like, I'm not willing to like let go of it, but I was like, I can't just do this and hand it to someone. It didn't feel right.
Right.
So I haven't made one in a while, but everything is, as you show, is still up. It's still available. The shows are still on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, all the, I'm paying to keep it up. I have this, resources page that I put up.
Great resources here.
That I, just to try to like cover, all the bases for people that might be going through something. So, I just found, that not a lot of people were talking about the mental toll making an independent film takes on a person. So I wanted to do something about it, and so I started the podcast, and,
really
and
great.
there it is.
That's really great, man. I could appreciate that, and as someone who also has been in therapy, and struggled with my own. I mean, I'm happy to say that I'm many years sober now, from struggling with my own drug addiction. So, and then that's hard to say, but I'm super proud of myself, right?
Well, congratulations, man. You deserve all the kudos, man.
Thank
that's
you.
Fucking impressive.
Yeah, I'm
proud of you, dude.
Thank you. I just hit my mark here the other day. So, and
Right
since then I dug in and I worked hard, and I've been, and here and look at where I am. So there is hope. There is, and I normally the only reason I normally would never ever mention that, but since we're on the topic and things like that, it's important to let people know that, hey, we've all been through our things, right? And it's tough, and it's an ugly world right now, and but it gets better, right? If it can get better, so that's really important.
It does.
And I appreciate that. So let's switch gears here. Let's talk about the Upstart Film Collective, and
sure.
Tell me what you got going on here.
Sure. Upstart Film Collective is our production company that was started 20 years ago. When I first moved out here, I met a gentleman who's still my producing partner to this day. His name is Christopher Jones. He's a well-known voiceover actor and is in a couple of Netflix shows. He does a lot of dubbing. So if you see any foreign shows on Netflix that have been dubbed over in English, chances are he's one of those people.
Awesome.
And we actually went to college in Boston separately and did not meet each other until I got out here to LA and met his brother of all people, and his brother's friend group. And then I met Chris, and it was, we've walked by each other in the halls at the School for the Arts at Boston University. What the hell, man? And so we met, we became friends, and we've been, super close friends ever since. And we still kind of, there he is right there. In my short film, Close But No Cigar is the lead. That's from many, many years ago already. But so we are producing partners. We did, like I said, my feature Getting Over, that was at South by Southwest. There's the picture there of us doing the Q&A.
Cool.
So we were there. We also did very, very early project. We are Stephen King dollar babies. We made a short film adapting Stephen King's Night Surf short story, which eventually he built out to be The Stand. If any other young filmmakers are listening, Stephen King will give you a non-exclusive license for any of his short films for only $1. And you can go out and shoot that movie. Absolutely. You can Google Stephen King Dollar Baby. Frank Darabont, who directed Shawshank Redemption, which was a Stephen King story, and The Green Mile, which was a Stephen King story.
I had no idea.
Many years ago, Frank Darabont in the mid-'80s licensed one of these short stories from Stephen King called The Woman in the Room for $1. And from that, they built a relationship that resulted in him working on Shawshank and The Green Mile. And he is still to this day, because he is fabulously wealthy and doesn't need the money, and he wants to help young filmmakers get practice.
I love
and
that.
gets experience under their belt for $1. Any of his short stories, our short story Night Surf, like I said, he eventually made that into The Stand, but many other people have made Night Surfs before us,
Yeah.
and some people have made Night Surfs after us. The only thing he asks is that you can't monetize it. So you can't like put it up on Amazon and start cashing in.
Yeah.
You can send it out to film festivals. But other than that, like it's like, give me $1, you can make a Stephen King
That's
movie.
so cool.
Like, go do
That's
that.
That's
So
one
we
thing
did that years ago.
That's one thing I appreciate about like Gene Roddenberry as well, because he explicitly, made terms to say that any fan of Star Trek can go out there and make fan fiction or fan films and things like that. Even though Paramount's been kind of trying to shut some of that down lately. But as a big Star Trek geek, by the way. But,
I watched. I was an early Kickstarter supporter of Star Trek Continues, I think it was called. They made that little short, like, and like they got cast members from the original Star Trek. They got the guy that played Apollo, and like they like. I mean, they built sets that just replicated it so perfectly. And this is what we're talking about with Film 3 and Web 3. Though, like, Star Trek Continues was something, like, unfortunately, it's something you couldn't do in Web 3 because of Paramount owns Star Trek. But the essence of that is the same. Even Stephen King doing that. We talk a lot, in Film 3 about, keeping your IP rights and being able to exploit your own rights without having to sell them to anyone else. And so, like, even though this was many years ago, we made Night Surf in 2001. It really was kind of that Web3 ethos that Stephen King was like, you know what? I already am super loaded, and I'm going to continue to make money on my books and my movies. So you know what? Give me $1, go make something. I won't sue you. I don't care. Just don't take money out of my pocket by trying to monetize it, but go to town. So like that ethos was, alive and well years ago. And if something like, if Paramount would just be cool, like they but that Star Trek, situation was something that would have worked perfectly in Film 3, because you have a built-in community of fans that are all, they're all invested in the story. They're already invested in the characters. And could you imagine the awesome things the community could come up with if they were working on a Star Trek script together?
Cool. And I'm a guy who also likes B sci-fi movies, right? And I joke a lot of the times. I'd be like, I would live a just absolutely happy life if I could just star in a string of B or C level sci-fi films. I'd be totally cool with that. And here comes Film 3, and I know that there's other people that probably love those cheesy, campy B sci-fi films too. Let's start a production house. Let's get it going. And that's the cool thing, is just really bringing the minds together. And so you are one of the OGs in the NFT film squad, right? Which we'll have the link. We'll have the links below for all that, who are putting on the first Film 3 summit here, the first official Film 3 summit in here in a couple weeks, which I'll be attending. Jordan Bain is the head honcho there, and we hope to get her on for an interview, but prior to the festival.
Yeah, the summit. She's crazy busy right now.
I know. That's what I was gonna say. Please return my email.
Yeah, we usually talk a couple of times a week. Like, we've become very. I worked on her short film Red Flags.
Yeah.
She needed some perfect thing. About Film 3. She was working on her motion picture Red Flags. She needed post-production help that she couldn't do herself. And I said, hey, that's what I do. I'm happy to help you out. So we've since become really good friends and collaborators, and it's been a blast. And that's really what it's all about. And, she's super busy right now. So we used to talk a couple times a week, but now
and she's passionate, boy, and outspoken.
And she really will, and it's one of the things that I really like about the Film Squad is, everyone has an opportunity to speak. Everyone has an opportunity to be heard. There is a focus on underrepresented voices, in film. When in the regular, I call it legacy Hollywood, all these people that I work with on a daily basis, independent, low budget, micro budget filmmakers, we support each other, but there's still a competition, even if you don't want to feel competitive. It's one of the things that goes into the mental health aspect.
Right.
Like me, I have some other friends, they're working on their movie right now. I'm working on mine. and like, but there's only one film festival spot.
Right.
You know, and so so
Yeah.
everyone, like I said, it's harder to get into Sundance than it is to get into Harvard. And so all these talented, amazing people are working so hard, but then we're inadvertently, the industry has made us inadvertently competitive with each other because we're fighting for the same spots just to get noticed by someone else.
Yeah.
To give us a chance. And in the film squad, you know, my relationship with Jordan, you know, grew organically just from showing up to the spaces and getting to know her that way. And that became other conversations, which became collaborations, which became, you know, work that we're both very, very proud of. And I don't feel like I'm competing with her at all. I don't feel like I'm competing with any of the filmmakers that I've met, you know, because, you know, and it's not even like, yeah, we're early, but like there's just so much room for so many different things. You know, the projects that I'm working on are different from the projects that you guys are working on, are different from the projects Jordan's working on, are different from like the films that other people are working on. So it's a wonderfully collaborative environment.
It's awesome. It's a great melting pot of ideas and people. Like you hop
international people too that I would never have had the opportunity to talk to otherwise. So it's been just an amazing blast of creativity and positivity and uplifting each other to a place where hopefully we can build out this little nook.
But that's what it's all about,
bigger
right?
Than a nook, but a nook where we can do this together.
Yeah, all of this Web3 film, anything 3, right? To me, it's all about lifting each other up. It's about enhancing each other, and you know, if I'm not great here, then you might be, and we can collaborate and we can build something really amazing together. And it's really what it's about. It's just about ownership of our art and representation, and retaining our creativity to do the things that we want to do, and not get milked by the man in the end.
1,000%. I mean, that's as good a way to sum it up as any, because the man been running Hollywood for many years now.
Yeah.
And you know, I also tell this story a bunch. When I was at South by in 2018, just 4 years ago now, you know, when we were there and I met all these amazing filmmakers, you know, I met Jim Cummings, I met Jeremy Workman, who's an amazing documentarian. I could rattle off names all day long, but I met all these. I met Charlie Tyrrell, who's an amazing documentarian. I met all these amazing people, and all I wanted to do at the time was like, and this was way before I had any involvement in crypto. Film3 was a twinkle in our eye, and I was like, man, I want us all to come together as the Avengers and become a super team of filmmakers and make a super movie where we're all doing things. And now, in a couple of weeks, you know, that with the Never Alone experiment, like that's exactly what's happening. Like all these all-stars from around the world will be converging on Los Angeles for the summit in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then when the summit's over, a whole bunch of us are going to go and spend a couple of days and make a short film.
Oh man, I wish I knew that, because I would have booked out my stay longer so I could.
I mean, we can. Yeah,
it's so cool to be part of.
Put your work. So like the summit runs from Friday to Sunday. And after that, Monday and Tuesday, Film Frico, our friend Luis Venegas, he's directing it. Sherry McCracken, who's a wonderful producer who's worked with Sterling K. Brown in the past, and she's a dear member of the squad. She's producing it along with Lauren Neal and Jill Bennett, and some other people are putting this thing together. And I'm helping out with some DIT stuff and some on-set, you know, tech stuff, and they have another editor whose name is Jeff, who's also a part of the squad. So all these people, these international people, are coming together, and I still haven't met most of these people in real life at all. I've only really met a couple of people in real life, but we're all coming together, and we're going to make a little short movie in a couple of days. And who knows what's going to become of it? But there's no competitiveness. There's no like fighting for festival spots. It's just people, like-minded people with similar goals, just getting together and making a flick, and let's see what happens. No pressure, no stakes, and it's everything I wanted to do back in 2018.
That's so cool.
And now to see it happening is just it's amazing.
It's almost like a hackathon, you know, when you get ETH Denver or something. They'll have a hackathon where we've got 3 days to throw something together, and I love that. That's a really great spirit. Well,
Yeah,
of course, Jason, Phantasma's here as always to offer any support, assistance, and love to the Film 3 community. If you had any closing thoughts or statements for the
no,
Phantasma community,
I think I
what would they
lost
be?
you,
Uh-oh.
Doc. I think I lost you.
Do. Really? Shoot. Um, All right, we're back after a quick pause. My internet cut out there for a second. But Jason, as I was saying, of course, Phantasma stands ready to support the Film 3 community in any way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. We're so excited to entertain the possibility of people coming and building on this platform and leveraging the technology that we have. Of course, I'll be out at the Film Summit to talk shop with people and just get to know everybody. But if you had any closing statements or thoughts for the Phantasma community on the subject of Film 3 or Web 3 or anything 3, what would that be?
Well, I mean, I can say first of all, I also, just as an aside, I have no personal brand loyalty towards any particular blockchain.
Yeah.
Like I know there are a lot of, there you got your Bitcoin maxis, your Ethereum maxis, you got your, all Solana and all that. Like I have like I'll go where the audience is, I'll go where the community is. I know Phantasma has a great community. I know it's like more of a gaming platform right now, but like if I can create on there and use it to its fullest, and use that technology to make cool shit and do cool shit with other people. Like I said, I have no, like I'll use whatever's good for that. So like, and I love what Phantasma is doing in the game space. But I guess if I had any last words toward any content creators, but anyone who's a creative person, anyone who has something they want to say, something in their heart, something in their soul, that they want to get out there in a creative way. I have found no better place than I mean, if we just want to call it the general NFT community or crypto or Web3, like whatever title you Film 3, whatever title you want to put on it. I have not seen a more welcoming community, a more open community of people who are just all committed to giving everyone a fair shake to get their voice out and to get their voice heard. So if I could say anything to anyone who's a creator, who's an artistic person, who might be afraid to dive into this, who might be like, who might talk about a bear market or not being able to 10x your money. I'm not even really thinking about the money right now. Like I'm not using this as a way to get rich or anything like that because that hasn't worked yet.
Me either, man.
it hasn't led to that, but it's really opened my heart to other perspectives, other communities, other people. If you have something in your heart and soul that you want to get out and you want to share with the world, this is a wonderful community to get started with that because you will find so much positivity. You will find people welcoming you into the fold. You will find people who are more than willing to help and answer questions and to be helpful in any way. So it's a real special place. I've really enjoyed my time here so far. I think the sky's the limit for the space in general, because once and I know the companies, and the big names are all starting to roll in and do their own thing, but it starts with, we talk about it a lot, but it does start with community. Mm-hmm. It does start with connecting with other people. Mm-hmm. And I have found no better place to do that than here in Film 3, in Web 3. So if someone's afraid to at least dive in and mix it up because they don't have crypto, or they don't, they think NFTs are all cartoon apes and something else, it's not. This space is what you make of it. If you want to be in, cartoon ape world and try to 10x your money overnight, go for it. Knock yourself out. I hope you can pull it off. I'm here to create things, with amazing people, here to meet amazing people. So the one thing I could say, now that I've said like 5 different things about it, really, like if you have something to say, if you're a creator, if you're an artistic person, you're an artistic soul, and you have something to say, dip your toes into the water, and you will find the water is just fine, and you will find a welcoming community. No matter what chain you're on, you will find people that will encourage you and support you, and it's worth giving it a shot.
Hey, I mean, I'd rather goof up now than live a life not knowing, or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, take the risk now or than live a life not knowing. So
Yeah, like I said, that's like I said, I knew something special was happening with Apple back in the year 2000. I feel that same thing happening right now, and I felt that way when Bitcoin was at 60 grand. I felt that way when Ethereum was at 4,000, and I feel the same way now. And I
that's
feel
awesome.
even
Yeah.
more actually, and the more I think about it, and the more I see what other people are doing, I am convinced, and I don't know how long it'll take. That I can't answer, but I am convinced Web3 and Film3 will be a place for low budget and micro budget independent filmmakers who don't have the means, who don't have the connections, who don't have necessarily the money, but they have something to say,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a story they want to tell,
Yes.
and they have something that they want to get out. I think this will be the home where filmmakers like that, where it might not cost $100 million and be shot on a fancy Sony Venice camera, or on 35 millimeter film and have Tom Cruise in it.
Mm-hmm.
That'll always have its place. We're all
Yeah.
going to want to see Tom Cruise in his movies from now
Right.
until the time. But if you're a low budget, micro budget filmmaker with something important to say, I genuinely feel this whole community will be where you will find your most success.
That's awesome.
Whatever that success means for you, whether it be money or networking or visibility for your projects,
Just
I
having
really
somebody
believe this
hear
will be the
you.
place.
Just to have your voice out there. Right?
Everybody, that's a great way to say it, man. Like everyone, especially these days, people just want to be heard. They
Yep.
just want to be as fractured as our country is, as fractured as our world is right now. People just want to be heard. They just don't want to feel like they're forgotten. And I feel in this space, and it's funny, listen, it's funny saying it as a cis white man, but I genuinely feel this way. Like this is going to be a place where underrepresented people will be able to come, share their stories, share their message with the world,
Yeah.
and be welcomed with open arms, and have the opportunity to have people, see, hear, and experience your work. And this is going to be the home for that. I believe it.
All
I
right.
believe it.
That's very good. Thank you very much. And I absolutely agree with you on all fronts. And we're happy to have people like you out there who are committed to building this and to pushing this forward and and making a new thing. I think anything three, entertainment three. I like to just term it entertainment three.
Yeah.
Really, I think we're on the precipice of doing something really great. So with that, we'll have all the relevant links down below. Everyone out there, thank you, Jason Charnick, for coming on the show tonight or today. Take care of yourselves mentally, of course. Go visit it.
Be kind to
the
yourself.
sites. Be kind to yourself. Be kind
Be
to
kind
each
to
other.
yourself.
And thank you so much. We really appreciate you being on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, have a good one,
It's
man.
available.
All
You
right,
too.
thanks.